Good morning, all. So, we'll be starting our session in another 3 minutes. Hi, welcome all. Thank you for joining us for today's live session. So, this is Sam from Obscura Zone, and today we will be having part 4 of our Python development series. So, hope you all have watched part 1, 2, and 3 of our development series. Those who have not watched can find it from our YouTube channel, Obscura Zone. Um, so just housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the comment section. We'll bring them up during the presentation, and we'll also have time for questions towards the end. So today's session will be taken by Shan. So over to Shan.
Thank you, Sam. So, good morning, everyone. And first of all, let me appreciate your dedication and also for your time that you spent for going through the sessions of everything. And we are here for the final session or the concluding session where we are going to build our sample application with all the knowledge we have gained so far. So let me start with the prerequisite for today's session. I hope everybody is were able to complete the last session's exercise, that is of having a Hello World program of Django. Okay, sorry for the interruption. So I just got a message from one of our organizers to hold on a bit. So we'll be resuming the session in like 2 more minutes. Okay, so we will resume now. Sorry for the interruption. As I was saying, the prerequisite for today's session is the Hello World program from the part 3 of the Python development series. So I hope everybody has the project open. So if you don't have, and if you are entering to the part 4 directly, or if you skipped by any reason for part 3, please, I would request everyone to go through part 3 to get started with the Hello World program of Django. So I would be happy to assist you offline if you don't have the project handy. Yep. Okay, so let's get started. So let's get started with the day 4 program. So so what are we going to do today? So first thing is like we are going to see like what is a administrator interface for Django. Then we will see how we can use models in Django, and we are going to integrate it with the SQLLite3 database. And let's see like how we are going to interact with the database. Then we are going to deal with like what are templates, static files, and by the end of this session, you will be seeing or you will be developing a sample application on your own. Uh, so before getting into the session, what I would like to do is like to show you like what are we going to build, so that every one of you have a clear idea on your mind of all the bits and pieces we are working towards. Okay. So this is the application which we are going to build today. So so the intention of this exercise or the series is to introduce you to Django, not to have much on HTML and the UI part, but still I would like try to share as much as possible. But yeah, finally with this, we will be having an initial set of UI. So this is a one single page application where you can actually add any title or with a price, and the books will be listed here. Okay. So by end of this session, you will be having this application built on your own. I'm like more or less the same. Okay. Okay then. So let's get started. So I hope everybody has their project open where we left off on session 3. And if you remember, we have this hello world definition or a function written. And I just want to bring your attention here, like this is one way of doing this. So we have additional things. You can check Google for a Django documentation, how to have write the views. So this is like we call like a function based view. We have a class based view as well, where instead of writing a function, you can write classes and functions inside it. But yeah, this is the simple way of doing it. So as I mentioned, we are going to see today the admin interface for the our project. So before, okay, so let's bring up the admin interface. So if you see where we added the URL for Hello World program last session, there is one more URL or which was like already there. That is the admin URL. Okay, so let's try to get it. So first, let's start our development server. So the command I hope everybody remembers, that is Python manage.py and run server. Um, and you can also specify where you want to run your server or port like this. So your server name and your port. So I can say 92. Okay. So if you have seen this error for the first time, okay, sorry, sorry for that. I have used incorrect port. Okay. So if you are trying to access any port which is not accessible by your operating system, you will get this error, like you don't have permission to access that port. So you have to change the port. So if you can see, I have my application open at port 8081. And if I click on it, I have this page open, which says like page not found, because we haven't specified any complete URL. So to access the admin interface, what I have to do is like suffix admin with the URL. So it will be like 8081/admin. So you should be seeing this sign in page. Please let me know like if you can see this page. Please use the live chat for the YouTube users, and for the Zoom users, please use the chat. Can you please confirm if you are seeing the page which I'm showing now? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Okay, so you are asked for a username and password, which we don't know yet. Okay, because we haven't created any usernames. So let's see how we can create a user for accessing the admin interface. So we are going back to our PyCharm window. Okay. So I have opened a new terminal because I don't want my terminal where the server is running to be closed. Okay. And the command is Python. As always, the file is always manage.py. And the argument is create super user. Okay. So create super user. Oh. So for the first time, if you are doing this, you will get an error like no table, no such table auth user. The reason is like when you are creating a user, you have to create entries in the database. So you cannot do anything without the database. Okay. And if you see, there is already a database called db.sqlite3 in the folder structure. Okay. But to make sure like it runs, there is one more command which you have to do so that all the database is ready to be used. So the command is, let me clear this. Python manage.py and migrate. migrate. I hope this is clear. So Python manage.py migrate. So if you see, there is you can see multiple logs stating like applying a particular files. Okay, so these are called migration files. We'll come to that once we are seeing the model section. Okay. Now let's try the command again of creating the super user. So now you can see it is asking for a username. So let's give a username, email address, any email address, and password. You have to confirm the password once again. So if you have given any simple passwords which doesn't adhere to the Django recommendation, you can bypass it since it is for local use with passing y as for the confirmation for bypassing the password. And that's it. So you have created the super user. You should see the log called super user created successfully. So is everybody able to create the user? Can I get some response, please? Is everyone able to create the super user successfully? Okay, great. So let's go back to the admin page and try to log in with the newly created user. So are you able to see this page? Okay, so I'm getting some questions here, like how is the admin and password stored in the backend? Where is it sit? Yeah, the admin, all the details of your application will be stored in the configured database. So if you don't configure anything, so let me go back to the project. Uh, you have your db.sqlite3. So I'm not sure like if I can zoom in the project section, but if you look at your left side, in the project section, you should see a database called db.sqlite3. So it's a file system database. That means the database is just a plain file. So all the your admin and password, everything will be stored here. And don't worry about the encryption. So it is by default encrypted, the passwords. Okay. So we will see like how we can configure any other databases after this section. Okay. So in the Django site administrator, we can see like by default you are able to edit or change anything with groups and users. So these are the default things. So if you click on users, you should see the new user which you have created, because that's the only user. And you can change all the your usernames, your if there is a password reset form, you can provide additional details like first name, last name. And here you have your default permissions, like whether the user is active, it's a staff status and super user status. So currently we have created the super user. That means like we have access to everything. But if you are creating instead of specify create super user, if you say create user, you will be just getting a user created, and you won't be able to join by default, because you need a super user to set the user as active. That means like here. Now, if you have the admin UI access, you can create additional users from here. So if you click on the add button, uh, you should be able to add a user from here. You don't have to go via the command line. Okay. Okay, I see one more question, like are these pages defined automatically? Yes, these admin UI comes pre-packed with the Django. So unless you remove it explicitly from the Django templates, it will be there. Okay. So we are not going to, that's pretty much for the admin UI. So it's mainly for administrating your database models. Now, let's see how we can go back to our uh, Hello World program and make it a template. So our next topic is templates. So as the name suggests, templates, so it's a placeholder. Okay, it is not a, we can call it like a partial HTML, which you can use to render your full data. Okay, so let's try to use this instead of HTTP response. Let's see how we can use it with a template. So to create a template, let's create a directory under your application. So I hope everybody has their application created where your view file resides. So I'm going to create a new directory uh, called templates. And under the template, I'm going to create a HTML file. And I'm going to name it as like index.html. Okay. So let's start by developing our application as such. So whatever we are going to do will be contributing to the final output which I have shown earlier. So let's say so this is the basic HTML. I hope everybody understands the syntax here. Okay, let me zoom a bit. Okay. Now let's start with a h1 tag. And that's it. Now let's put our hello world there. Let's try to create a new function called let's say index or show index. And the syntax will be same. But here what we are going to do is like we are going to use the templates. So what we are going to return is like instead of HTTP response, we will be using the function called render. And let's see what does render require. So you can see it is showing in the assist like it requires the request, template, and context. So request is nothing but the argument you are getting. And template name is the file name of the HTML you have created. So it will be like index.html. Okay. Now let's associate this show index file with our URLs so that we can access it from the UI. So after the hello where we have imported, I'm having the show index function as well. And I'm adding the index path. So it will be path index and the function name. Okay. So if your server is still running, you can check in the URL and see like if it is working or not. So it will be like your port number / the URL which you have configured. So I've configured like index. Okay. So here it's saying like your template does not exist. So let's see like what is the issue here. Okay. So you have your template folder, but it is not recognized. To see there whether what are the directories configured, you have to go to the settings file. So you have your project directory similar to your app directory, and you should see a file called settings.py. And under that, if you go here, you can see the directories or the settings for the templates. So here you can specify the directory or by explicitly. Otherwise, there is some section called app directories equal to true. So that means like if your application is registered all the folders inside this application will be searched. Okay. So my application name is like my app. So let's try to register our application or add to our configuration. So if you scroll up a little bit, you should see a section called or a list called installed apps. So you should see the admin, auth, and all those things. These are the applications which comes pre-built, and any custom apps like our my app has to be registered explicitly. So let me add it here, my app. Okay. And let's try to access it again. So did you got your HTML rendered? Can I get some response, please? So this is a really important thing because all our coming activities depend on this. So can you please confirm if you got the HTML rendered? Okay, for those who don't get haven't got the rendered, can you tell me like where you are stuck, or do you want me to repeat? Or if you're having getting any errors, also please paste it in the chat. Okay. Uh, so I see one error like show index is not defined. So if you are getting that error, that means like you haven't imported that function. So you have to import it like this. From your view function, import hello slash show index, or whatever the function name you have defined in the views.py. So I have defined it like show underscore index, and that is what I am importing here. And for those who are getting like the site can't be reached, so I think your server is down, so you have to you might have closed it. So you have to run again with the command like this. Python manage.py run server. Okay. And click on the URL which you are getting it in the console. Okay, somebody is asking for the definition of a render. So render function, what it does is like it renders the given template, okay, with the data. So if you see here, we have a pretty plain template. So it's like we don't have anything extra here. It's just like a plain HTML. So it will be just rendering the same HTML over the URL. Okay, but we will see like what render can do additionally once we put some placeholders. Okay. Okay, so now what we are going to do is like, let's put a table, let's say. I hope everybody is aware of a simple HTML table. So let's say a table. And let's put a body, let's say. Let's put a dummy data here for the moment. Okay, so this is just to check whether our table is rendered or not. So let's check. So you can see like our table is showing here. We don't have the border as such, but we will get it done. So you have your header and your data, right? Now let's see what template can do for us. So I'm going to my view function, which is currently nothing but just rendering something. So let's create a data. So let's say I'm creating a list. Okay. So I have a collection, right? Now what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to pass this to my template like this. So I'm creating a dictionary under which I'm passing the collection I've created. Okay, so which is the third argument. So you can, if you want, you can create the dictionary separately and pass it as well. But yeah, if you don't have too many variables, you can do it like this. Okay, so we are passing a Python object and trying to render it on the HTML. Okay, so here instead of dummy, what I'm going to do is like, I'm trying to populate that data given from the view function. So for that, I'm going to start writing the Django template syntaxes. So first, I'm going to iterate. So for iterating, I need a for loop. So the syntax is like this. You have a opening curly braces, a percentage, and you have a closing percentage and a closing curly braces. In between, I can write the for loop like for book in books. So this books is the one which you are passing here. So it represents this value, not this one. So the key is the one which you should refer in the templates. Okay. So let me close that as well. Okay. So that means like how many entities are there in this collection, that many number of rows will be rendered here. And whatever there is in the loop will continue. So let's put the value here. So instead of dummy, I want to use the value of book here. So to use the value, or what do you say, to render the value, you can use the double curly braces like this and put the value here. So this corresponds to the value here. Is it clear? So let's go back and refresh our page. And you should be seeing all the data here. I hope everybody got this output. Are you guys with me so far? Okay, great. So this is one very important session for the Django, that is using the templates. So that means like now we are not just dealing with the Python code, we are dealing with HTML as well. Now we have more syntaxes for the Django, like if conditions, your templates, extension. But we are not going to cover too much. But if you want, you can just Google Django template syntax. So you should be getting it. Yep. So that is what we have for template at the moment. Let's go back to models and then come back. Okay. So currently we are defining the data here, right? So that means like it is a static data. It cannot be changed or removed or anything, right? So for the using the database, let's see what we can do to use the database. So first, let's see like where is the database configured. So I guess I received few questions also a few minutes earlier. So let's try to answer it. So if you go to settings.py file, you should see a section called databases here. So you can call it's a dictionary with a key and values. So you can actually define or interact with multiple databases. But if you use the keyword as default, you don't have to specify the database name. Otherwise, wherever you are using the database, you have to specify this key. And by default, Django has a support for SQLLite3. That means like you don't have to install any other requirements to use SQLLite3 database. So as I mentioned, SQLLite3 is a file system database. So it's like more or less using an Excel file. So you have your file here, db.sqlite3, and this is the file path. So base directory means your project directory. So if you click on the base directory, you should see here. So it resolved to your project directory or the root directory. So if you want to change your file name, currently it is like db.sqlite3, you can change it here. Okay. Fine. But if you change ever the database name, make sure to run the migrate command again. That is Python manage.py migrate. Okay. Now, why we need this migrate, I will let you know in a short moment. I hope this is clear. Okay. So if you want to use MySQL, you have to install the MySQL dependencies via pip and then change the engine name here. Okay, so that depends on your what type of MySQL version and everything you are using. So you should be getting a string similar to this from the MySQL site, but you can use it for Django. That applies to any databases. So what we are going to do is like we are going to change this static directory books collection to database. Now pay attention. So we are not going to use any SQLite queries or SQL queries to do this. What we are going to use is the MVC approach, that is using the models to actually refer this book. So let's see how to do that. So you should see a file called models.py in the same level as your views.py. So guys, if anybody is facing the issue of like can't reach this page, make sure your server is running. Just a reminder. Okay, so let's go to models.py. And it says it will be a almost empty page with just one import, that is models. But that's what we need at the moment. So let's see. So here, as I mentioned, like here we are going to interact with the database with classes. So I'm going to define a class. Let's say class book. Let me zoom a bit. But with the inheritance of models. So I'm going to say models. And here I'm going to define the, so just imagine like your class represents a table in the database. And the attributes what we are going to define here will represent a column in the database. So let's try to create our first column, that is title. So I'll say title. And the value will be models dot, oh, sorry, one mistake. So it will be like models dot model, not just models. So this will be the class you will be importing. And the character field will be models dot car field. And you can mention your maximum length. So let's put like 128. So this is equivalent to defining your table with the name book and with a title as a column, with data type as a varchar, with a maximum length of 128 characters. Clear? Now, to see this, you have to, now we have only defined it in the code. We need this class to be generated in the database or synchronized with the database. So let's see how we can do that. So, but before doing that, you don't have any UI like MySQL Workbench or anything to view for the SQLLite3. Yes, you can install any custom things, but since we are working with Django, we don't need it because we have the admin interface. So what we are going to do is like we are adding this object to the admin interface so that we can view the data, this class from there. So to do that, it's pretty simple. You go to the admin.py file. And you register your model. Okay, so let's do this. From dot models. So dot models means in the current directory, whatever the model file you have. Okay. I'm importing my class and I'm registering here. So the command is admin.site dot register and book. Okay, I see a question. So models is the class name. Model is the class name. So small letter models is the package which we are using, and capital model, okay, singular, is the class name. Okay, I hope you are here. So you have admin.site.register. So before using it, what we are going to do is like we have to synchronize it with the database. So it's a two-step process. So first step is to create the migration files. So if you see here, you will be having a Python module called migrations with an empty init file. Okay. So init file only represents that like it is a Python module. So let's try to create our first migration file. So the command is Python, again manage.py, and make migrations. Okay. MAKE MIGRATIONS. I hope you got it. And press enter. So you can see there is a migration file called 0001 underscore initial.py created under the migrations folder. This is a read-only file. That means like you shouldn't be changing anything inside this migration file. It is automatically created by the Django. And it has instructions to what to do while synchronizing with the database. Okay, so I'm not going to go into detail of the init.py migration files, but make sure you don't mess with it. So you don't have to delete it. It should be there. So this is for the synchronizing purpose. So for example, if you want to revert back any changes in the database, you can use the migration files. Okay. So you got the migration file created. So now the next step is like to apply the migrations. So this is what we have been doing so far. That is Python manage.py migrate. So what we are using this command, and this command is to apply all the pending migrations. So you have this new file created and which is not synchronized with the database. Now, if you do this only, this command is the only command which interacts with the database. So if you do it, you should see like it's okay. Success message is there. I hope everybody got the OK message for the migrate command. So now let's see whether it is reflected or not. So I'm going back to my admin UI. And under the admin UI, you should see a new section for books. Right? Can you see? Did everybody got the books under the My App section? So this is again similar to the users or groups which was already there. So you can click on books and you can actually do all your operations like adding, deleting, or changing anything from here. Okay. So you have a add book section where you can insert a new book. Okay. So this will be like similar to doing it via the database, but we have a UI here. Okay. So if I So if I do like this, you should be seeing the object here, right? And you can delete as well from here. Is it clear? So if you've done this already, you can see like we have already done with the database creation part, your table creation part, and also one insert query, right? But we haven't looked into or so any SQL queries so far, right? Okay, so let's get back to our code and let's try to retrieve this object in our uh, view function. So what we are going to do is like we are going to replace the static list with the database. So that is also going to be pretty simple. So first, what we are going to do as we did in admin.py to import that class. So from .models, import the class. And instead of writing a static list, what we are going to do is like we are going to write the simple select star from books query. So it's pretty simple. You say book dot objects dot all. Okay. So your class name and dot objects dot all is equivalent to select star from the table name. Is it clear? Now how to access it? So that is also pretty simple. It's basically because the book is a class and any class objects can be retrieved using the attributes. So I have a title attribute and I'm going to render it in the template directly. Okay, so that means like I'm trying to connect my database with the HTML. So I'm passing the books as it is. I'm going to my index.html. So you have your the query remains the same because it is again a collection, but in the value I am having an object. So I have to use dot title. Clear? Now let's go back to our index.html page and see if we are getting the static list or the one in the database, or let's any errors. Did you got it? Is everybody able to see the output from the database? Make sure to refresh the page. Can I get some response, please? If you are stuck also, please let me know in the chat. Okay, I got a response like one of the person got it. Cool. Fine. So that's for the database. So you have additional functionalities like you can filter so that like you can say like if you want use queries like select star from a table where you can have foreign keys and so on. But yeah, we are not going to cover too much in this series because as I mentioned in the start of the session, we are going to build the application which I shown, and we are learning the ones the details what we require to build it. Okay. So for that, we are only requiring to create have the book created and retrieved. Okay. So now you know like how we can retrieve the objects. Okay. So now let's try to add few more things here. So you have your title and everything. Now let's try to add a functionality to it. So when you say a functionality, let's try to add an input field so that we can create a new function, right? Create a new book. We can always create it in via the admin UI. So for example, if you go to your admin UI and add one more book, let's say, save it. And if you refresh the page, you should see the new entry here, right? So that's pretty easy. Now, we are going to do is like we are going to implement this UI on our own. Okay. So basically, for any such kind of operations, what we need is a form, HTML form. So let's put it here. And let's put an input label. Let's cover it in a div for now for our convenience. And we have a label. Let's say title. And we have our input field. Which is type text. And let's put a name also. Let's say title. And that's it. Okay. And let's put a button also, which submits it. So let's say button. Add. And we need to make sure like it type is submit. So if you guys have any queries with the HTML, please reach out to me offline for what does these things do. Okay, so we have a input and a button. So let's see if those are rendered here. Yes, we have the title here where you can type and you have a button. Right. Now, what we need this to do is like whenever we click on add button, we need that new book to be created with the given title. Okay. So let's try to implement that. So what we are going to do is like we are going to write another function, view function, which handles the adding. So we have def add book, the same syntax. So request sorry. And here what we are going to do is like we are going to create a new book from the given entries. And we are expecting the method, the HTTP method to be a post method. So what we are going to do is like we are retrieving the values. Let's say title equal to, we haven't used the request object so far. So we are going to get the returns like values like from the post like this post. It's a dictionary. So you can retrieve like this key. The key should be the name given in the HTML. So in the HTML, we have given the name as title for the input field. And this is what we are going to get here, title. Now let's see how to create a new book. Okay. So we are going to see how we can use Python to do an insert query. So it is same as how you create a class. So I'm creating a book object. So our book is a class that is defined in the models. And I'm setting the values like book dot title equal to title. And there is one more function called save. Okay. And that's it. Now, this is a function which doesn't return anything. So what we are going to do is like we are redirecting to the index page. Okay, so that means like once this is done, we need the index.html back. So we want this function to go to this function. So that is called redirecting. Now for redirecting can be done in multiple ways, but easiest way is to assign a name to the URL. So if you go back to urls.py, I'm going to assign a name to this page. So I say name equal to index. So you can use this as a key wherever you need to access this URL. I'm also going to add one more for the add book which we have created. The three values can be same, not a problem. There is no specific requirement for that. So I added the URL for our new view function as well. So what I'm going to do is like redirecting it. So return, redirect. So you have to import redirect as well. I hope this is clear. So we have a view function now which can actually add a book. So let's try to call this function from our HTML. So we have our HTML here. Now what we need to do is like assign the variable. So first let's define the method as post, because by default, if you create a form, the method is get. So you say method equal to post, and we have this action attribute which defines what is the URL we are going to post it. You can give a explicit yes, we have imported the redirect here. So you can see like from Django.shortcuts, we have the redirect here. Okay. So we have a function called URL. So it's similar to the for loop which you have defined to dynamically get the URL. Okay, so you can say in the curly braces and the bracket percentage sign URL, and in single quotes you can give the key you have defined here, that is add book, this key. And that's it. So you have created a form which does a post, and you have an add book, and you have a title. Okay. So let's see if this is working. So I refresh my page. Make sure to refresh, otherwise you won't be getting the HTML rendered. So let's see the page source. Okay. So if you go into page source, you can see the rendered HTML or the complete HTML. You can see the action has been rendered with the URL. You have your table populated, and this is a complete HTML which is rendered. It is not same as the one you see in your Python, right? Now let's see if this is working. I'm adding a title and click on add. So I hope everybody got this error, like a CSRF verification failed. So this means like this is a HTML restriction that like whenever you are doing a post method, you should be having this particular CSRF token. This is like for a malicious attack. You can learn more about CSRF later. But for now, let's get rid of this error. So let's add the CSRF token. So to add the CSRF token, it's also pretty easy. You have to just add one more Django template syntax like this called CSRF underscore token. Okay. Now let's go back to the index page. Refresh it. Let's see the page source is also reflected. So you should see a new input field with this name and value. This is just to ensure that the request for the post is coming from the UI. Okay. Now let's try to add it again. And your UI should be functional. Are you guys with me? Please let me know in the chat if you are till here. Have you got the page here? Anyone? Or please let me know if you're stuck as well. This is one of the concluding part, because the next part is for styling the page, because we have our functionality ready. We have our table, we have our input field and the buttons. Now all is left to style the page. So please let me know if you are done so far. Okay, I'm taking that as a yes, and will proceed. So next thing is more about how we are going to style the page. So we seen like now it's a very ugly looking page. So let's give a small layout. And how we are going to do layout is using the Bootstrap. Okay, so whoever have basic knowledge of HTML or the plugins, you might be familiar with Bootstrap as well. So Bootstrap is a plugin which allows you to uh, lay out your HTML pages. So if you just Google Bootstrap, you have the site called getbootstrap.com, and you can see how we can use the Bootstrap libraries. So you have your CSS files and your jQuery or the JavaScript files. Okay. So let's try to link it. So here I'm going to copy this file. Let's link the CSS first. So all the CSS link should be in the head. Okay. And all your script section should be at bottom of the page, but inside the body. So you have here. Okay, so you have your bootstrap added. So for the people who are using Zoom, I can just ping you the URL. So the site is getbootstrap.com. So Bootstrap has its own very, very detailed documentation. So you can click on the documentation and to see what it can do. But for this today's tutorial, I can show you what we are going to use. So let's start by the label itself. So we have our h1, and I'm going to use the class as, let's say, text dark, so that it remains black. I'm not going to give much explanation here, so just make sure like you follow what I'm typing. So because it's more on the styling part of it. So I'm giving a div. So all the Bootstrap works on the class attribute. So you can give what is the class you're using. So say container. And I'm enclosing the container with this. And just to separate it out, I'm going to use a different div with a little bit of margin. So MT5 means it gives a spacing between the two divisions. We have here, let's say, let's put it in a row. Let's put one more value for column as well. So this is like a kind of creating a table. So you can put everything like this. And let's style the input as well. So class equal to your form control. Okay. And let's see if it is working. So if you go back to your library management and try to refresh, you should see like something similar like this. So you got your style for your input box for your H1 header, right? So let's try to add from styling for the button as well. This will be another column, but with let's put a auto indentation as well. And yes, and let's add a style to button. So whatever I'm typing here is available in the Bootstrap site. So if you go to any components like here and go to buttons, you can see to get any similar kind of buttons, what is the class you have to use. Okay. And so you have it here. So let's go back and refresh. So you see there is a add button as well. Right. Now let's try to add one more input box for the price as well, so that it looks a little bit better, or whatever the application we have shown earlier. So I'm going to copy this column section, paste it here, and price. And let's see if it is reflected here. Yep. So you have your title and price here. Okay. So you have two sections now. Now let's try to make sure the table is also a little bit better. So let's first create the outer layer. So this can be a little bit slow for a few people, so don't worry about it. You can watch the recorded video again if you are not trying to keep up with the pace. Let's put a H3 here. And see for the color. And let's put another one for the table as such. And I'm going to put the table inside this. And if you want to format your HTML file, you can always select everything and go to the code menu, and there is a reformat code button. Okay. So this can be used for even your Python coding. So let's see how is the rendering so far. So you have your all books and your table is inside here. Now, if you have noted, our table actually doesn't look like a table, right? So what we are going to do is like, let's try to use some Java query plugins and make it a little bit more interactive. So one widely used plugin is called datatables.net. So you have datatables.net. Which also is similar to how you used Bootstrap. So you need the CSS files as well as the JavaScript files. Okay. So let's add the CSS. So I have this one. I think I haven't copied the entire things. So let's go to examples and find out a simple thing. So you have a zero configuration. So this is the template we are going to use. So below you can see what things to be done. So you can see the full CDN libraries here. So I'm going to use this one. So it's a script. And let's copy the CSS as well. So this is the complete one. And this should help you to use the database. And if you see in the HTML section, you have this table example, and we have already this table. Now what we need to just do is apply this. So it says we need this function called document.ready, which is the function which is invoked whenever the page is loaded. So we are going to have an inline script. That means like in the page itself. So let's say script. And this is like a ID. So let's say book table. And this is the ID which we are going to apply for the table. So you have your table here, and I'm saying ID equal to the same what we have defined in the function. Let's refresh. And you should see now our table is showing like this, right? You have got your table with your your search entries, your search, and so on. So let's come back a little bit, zoom out a little bit. So you can see everything is here. So have you styled your pages so far, at least like this? Can I get some response, please? Anyone who got it right? Please let me know also if you haven't got it or you are stuck somewhere. Okay, so let's style it a little bit more. Continue. You don't have to really need these two parts. You can remove that. Same for you. And let's see if we have any errors. Yeah. Okay, so I think I'll be leaving the styling for here at the moment. And now let's try to add any background images. Okay, because it currently it looks very little bit dull. Now to get any stat image, you also again like you have to get it from your server, right? Now how to get it from your server without writing a view function? Because for getting an image, you really don't have to worry about processing a request, right? It's just a file. So those kind of files are called static files. And let's see how we can serve as static files. So let's create a new directory called static. And under which I'm going to define few folders, subfolders. For example, I can have a image directory. I can have a CSS directory. Now let me try to copy some image which I have. You can also download and put any image here. So I have this particular image which I have downloaded. So you can also download a good image. A high resolution image is always recommended. And now to get this JPG image, what you have to do is you have to configure this folder as static folder. So that's again a bit easy. You go to your settings.py file, which is your core of your application. And you have something called as a static URL. Below that, what you need is a static directory. So the variable name is should be static files underscore dirs, which is again a list. Here you can specify the directory name. It is by default takes from the present working directory. So static means in the current directory. And let's try to access this thing with the URL like slash your static URL, that is static, slash your folder path. So we have kept it inside img slash background.jpg. So let's see if you are getting it. So you are getting it here, right? Now what we need to do is like we have to assign this background to your application. Let's see how we can do it. So we are going to use a custom CSS file for that. So let's create a new CSS file, which is a styling sheet. So let's give it like a name style.css. And we are going to apply it to the body. So let's say background. It has to be given as like a URL, not a file, because we are serving it. So the static. And we have to include this style sheet so that this applies to the index.html. So what we are going to do is like similarly what we have done for the custom for the bootstrap and data tables, we are going to link it. But your link or the URL will be from the static, that it will be slash static slash CSS and your file name. Now let's see. You may have to hard refresh it. Let's see if anything is missing here. Okay, I think we are seeing only the white portion of the background. So let's zoom out a little bit and see. Okay, so let's try again. Okay. So you can see the images now here. So you can try with your own custom images and see like what is happening. So are we here? Did everybody got the application here? So we have added a new field called price. So let's finish the exercise with adding this field as well to the model. Okay. So let's first add the HTML. So HTML, you have already the price, and the price name is also there. So nothing else required from the front end side. But we need to add this in the models. So let's put price here. And this time let's put a float field. Okay. And since the entries are already existing, let's put like a null equal to true, so that it won't throw us any error. Okay. And as I mentioned earlier, if you make any changes in the database, you have to do the make migrations and migrate. So let's try make migrations and migrate. So make migrations, it says the new field is added, and migrate, and the price is there. Now let's see the admin UI, whether it has been reflected. So if you go to books and select any book, you can see there is a price here. So let's try to put some values here so that we don't get any empty values. Now we need to make sure like the value is populated in the tables as well. So what we need to do is like, we are passing the objects here already. So by default, any new fields added will be taken in this query. No need to update your queries. Only thing to update here is in the table section. So here you're only giving title. So let's give price as well. And price. Now let's try to render our page and see if there is any error. No. So you have your books listed with title and price. So let's see if our functionality still works. Yes, it is working as well. Now, if you see your table, it actually has a very basic, all the functionalities related with the table. So you can sort it. You have the pagination if it is more than the entries shown here. So for example, if you have entries here, so you can select how many entries you want to see in the page, and you have a search as well. Okay. Okay, so you can see here it is given as none. The reason is like we haven't updated our add method. Okay, I see somebody is having a static files underscore not defined function. So can you check your settings is like this? Static files underscore dir is equal to, let me put it in the Zoom. Okay, so moving ahead, we are getting none because we are not using the price here. So let's put the price here as well. Price. Price. Okay. So let's refresh our page and let's try to add it again. So if you want to delete it, we haven't added any delete functionality at the moment, but you can delete it from the admin UI. So if you go to books, you can delete it from here. So refresh. Yep, it's gone. Now let's try to add it again. And you can see now the functionality works as expected with the title and price listed. So is it clear? Great. Thank you. So guys, so this is like our end of the application. So as promised from the, today's session, we have created the sample application. And I hope you can refresh yourself or learn more about the stylings. Because as of me also, like I'm not much of a UI developer, but yeah, you can learn on more about how to style your application and make it more better looking. Uh, but yeah, so you might have already learned like what are the basic things you can do with Django. There is more than that. Now we have created the authentication. You can use the same authentication you are using to log into your admin UI for your application as such. So for more reference, you can log into djangobook.com. So let me show you the site. So this is the, sorry, I think. So this is a really good site where you can actually look at the applications or which covers every Django tutorials. So it will help you to learn more about Django and its functionalities. It should be available as a free ebook as well, so you can search it online. And okay, so guys, so let's review what we have done for the last 4 sessions, and let's see like if we have missed anything. So I'm going back to our slide. So we mentioned like what is the overview of Python and its applications. Yes, we've seen like what is the basic Python structures and the syntaxes. We have seen how to write a generic function and how to use the inbuilt libraries. We have seen how to use a virtual environment, also the pip package manager to organize the imports. We have also seen like what is the MVC concept and how it can be used for web development. And finally, today we have created a simple Django project with the SQLLite3 database. So as promised in the first day, we have covered all the things as promised. Now, any questions? So we can spare some time here if you have any questions from the day 1 of the session till day 4, or if you have any questions like what to do next, or anything on your mind, you can post it in our chat. Okay, so coding practices, you have multiple coding practices for Python, but one of the widely used one is called PEP8, PEP-8. You can Google for that. And there is one more thing which you can check. Let me see if I have it here. Yep. So you have this site called Guide to Python, and you have something called as like a Pythonic way of coding. So this is generally the good coding practices. So you can see like how to write a bad way and what is the recommended way of using anything. So whatever we have done for the tutorial might not be adhering with any of these. So, but when you're doing a professional coding, you can uh, refer this link. Okay. And by default, if you are using PyCharm, it has the Pepate coding convention. So for example, if you see a gray line under your code, you can see it will be written like Pepate and what is wrong there. Okay, so make sure you don't have any gray lines. So here it says like expected 2 blank lines, found 1. So if you enter one more line, it should be good. So there are general things like how much wide you can write. So I mean, if you what is the column width, and you need every blank line at the end of every file, and there are so many other syntaxes. So if you are seeing anything like this, you can either reformat your file, which will get rid of most of things. Otherwise, you can add additional lines. So anything else? Any other questions? Okay, guys. So I don't see any more questions. So what we can do is like, uh, please try it out. I'm not sure like if everybody got the output as we have shown in this session, because yeah, I know like the HTML and the CSS part is a little bit messy. And don't worry about that as well, because when you are developing or you are going to be a Python developer, you won't be dealing much with the UI. You will be having a UX team separately for this, who can create the HTML pages for you. So make sure you know the template tags which you have used, like the for loop or the URL and such things you need to know. But apart from designing and styling, you don't have to worry about it. Now, if you guys haven't followed up with me, and if you are stuck somewhere, please reach out to us via any of your Python chat groups, or you can also leave your comment on the YouTube sections, and we will try, leave the link there for the joining the WhatsApp groups if you're interested. And also not just for web development, if you have any queries with the Python, or if you are interested in getting a career with Python, and if you have any doubts, please feel free to drop there as well. So thank you for your precious time, and enjoy your weekend and stay safe.